My name is Gerald Warren, 56 years old, and until that Thursday afternoon in October, I believed I knew my wife, Lauren Warren, better than anyone in the world. We'd been married for 28 years, lived in a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, and built a life that I thought was unshakable. That day, I drove downtown to surprise her at work. She's the CEO of a major New York tech company, Meridian Technologies, and she'd been working exhausting 12 to 14-hour days for weeks. I'd grown tired of eating dinner alone, tired of her late-night texts about board meetings and endless emergencies, so I picked up her favorite latte and made her a homemade sandwich. A small gesture, but I thought it might brighten her day. The lobby of her Manhattan office tower gleamed with marble floors and sharp chrome accents, the kind of intimidating corporate atmosphere where everything feels too expensive to touch. I approached the security desk, holding the coffee in the brown bag, trying to look confident. "Good afternoon," I said. "I'm here to see Lauren Warren. I'm her husband." The guard's nameplate read William. He stared at me a moment too long, as if my face didn't match what he expected. "You said you're Mrs. Warren's husband?" "Yes," I repeated. "Gerald Warren." William blinked, then laughed. Not a polite laugh, an honest, bewildered laugh echoing across the marble floor. "Sir, I see her husband every day. He just left about 10 minutes ago. Actually, there he is now." My stomach dropped. A tall man in a charcoal suit walked confidently through the lobby, mid-40s, perfect hair, polished shoes, a man who looked like he belonged in this world. He nodded at William with casual familiarity. "Afternoon, Bill. Lauren asked me to grab those files from the car." "No problem, Mr. Sterling. She's in her office." Frank Sterling, Lauren's vice president. A man I'd heard about in stories, quick mentions, work-related anecdotes, nothing personal. Nothing suspicious. But now William was looking at him, then at me. "I'm sorry, sir, but Mr. Sterling is married to her." Those words hit my chest like a sledgehammer. Married to her. Present tense. Frank paused mid-stride, hearing William's comment. When he looked at me, recognition flashed through his eyes. Not surprise, not guilt. Recognition. He knew who I was. I forced myself to breathe, forced myself to stay calm. "Oh, you must be Frank," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Lauren's mentioned you. I'm a friend of the family, just dropping off some documents." A lie. A bitter one, but necessary. He smiled politely. Too politely. "Of course. I'll make sure she gets these." I handed him the coffee and sandwich. My hands numb. Then I walked out of that building in a daze, the October air slicing against my skin. My reality had cracked open. When I got home, Lauren texted, "Running late again tonight. Don't wait up. Love you." Love you. Now every word felt like a lie. I sat in our kitchen, our familiar, comfortable kitchen, and stared at nothing. Hours passed in a haze. When Lauren came home at 9:30 p.m., everything about her looked normal. Her navy suit, her perfect hair, her tired smile. But I wasn't seeing my wife anymore. I was seeing a stranger. "I brought you coffee today. To your office." She froze, just for a half second, then smiled. "You did?" "I didn't get any coffee. I gave it to Frank to pass along." Another tiny pause, barely noticeable unless you'd loved someone for 28 years. "Oh, Frank mentioned someone stopped by. I must have missed it." She poured herself a glass of wine, her hands steady. Too steady. We moved through the rest of the evening like actors performing a script we'd memorized long ago. Same conversations, same routines. But nothing was real. That night, she slept peacefully beside me. And I stared at the ceiling, realizing I'd been living with a woman I didn't actually know. The next morning, Lauren kissed my cheek before heading to work, wearing the same perfume I bought her 2 Christmases ago. Except now, I wasn't the man she wore it for. I called my office and said I'd work from home, but instead I went through her things, not out of desperation, but with the controlled precision of an accountant. I found 1. A restaurant receipt from 6 weeks ago. Chat Laurent, our anniversary restaurant, dinner for two, a bottle of wine, 8:15 p.m. She told me she was meeting a female client from Portland. Another lie. Credit card charges, lunches on days she packed meals, gas stations nowhere near her office, a $371 purchase at Barnes & Noble despite claiming she didn't read anymore. Small lies, practice lies. The final blow. Her laptop. A notification popped up. Calendar invite. Dinner with Frank. 7 p.m. Tonight. Bellacourt. Bellacourt. The restaurant where I proposed to her 17 years ago. I scrolled through the rest and felt sick. Coffee with F. Every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Dinner with F. Every other Thursday. Weekend trip. The same weekend she claimed she went to a women's leadership conference. This wasn't an affair. It was a second marriage. A parallel life. One where Frank was the husband and I was the obligation. At 6:15 p.m., Lauren came home early, wearing the black dress I bought her last birthday. The one she said was too fancy for everyday use. She looked beautiful. She looked like she was dressed for someone else. I thought maybe we could grab dinner out tonight. It's been forever since we did something spontaneous. A bold lie. Because she already had dinner plans. Just not with me.
Lauren suggested dinner with a softness I hadn't seen in months, her smile carefully practiced, her perfume unmistakably deliberate. She stood in the doorway, wearing the black dress I bought her, a dress she once claimed was too elegant for anything casual. Except tonight wasn't casual, and it wasn't for me. Dinner, I repeated. Spontaneous? She laughed lightly. Why not? We deserve a night out. The lie hung in the air like smoke from a slow-burning fire. I had seen the calendar invite on her laptop. Dinner with Frank at Bellacourt, 7 p.m. She didn't cancel the event. She didn't move it. She simply planned to make an excuse and then go. Sure, I said. Let's go out. Her eyes flickered with surprise, but she nodded. Great, just give me 10 minutes to freshen up. When she disappeared into the bedroom, I stood in the hallway and felt the anger settling into something sharper, harder, like ice forming around a wound. When she came back out, hair perfect, smile perfect, lies perfect, I grabbed my wallet, slipped on my coat, and said, "Let's take your car." She hesitated, barely, then agreed. We drove through downtown Brooklyn, crossing the Manhattan Bridge. The city lights washed over her face in the dim glow of the dashboard. She looked peaceful, almost content. "Where do you want to go?" she asked. I followed her own schedule. Bellacourt. For half a second, she froze. The restaurant's name hit her like a slap. She blinked, laughed softly, forced. "Oh, Bellacourt? That's a little fancy for a random Thursday, don't you think?" "You're wearing a fancy dress," I said calmly. "Seems fitting." She turned her face toward the window, hoping I wouldn't notice the panic in her eyes. But I did. Every detail. Every lie. Bellacourt sat glowing on the corner of West 67th Street, its gold lettering shining through the evening mist. A place filled with anniversaries, proposals, promises, all the things she had once claimed to value. I parked directly across from the restaurant. When Lauren saw whose car was already there, Frank's black Audi, she inhaled sharply, a tiny breath she didn't intend to make. Her fingers tightened around her purse strap. "Gerald, maybe we should try somewhere else. Bellacourt gets crowded? Overpriced? Too romantic?" I unlocked the door and stepped out. She didn't move. Not for several seconds. When she finally followed, her heels clicked on the pavement like ticking clocks. Inside, the hostess smiled. "Table for two?" "Actually," I said, "we're meeting someone." I glanced toward the back of the room. There he was. Frank Sterling, sitting at a candlelit table for two, scrolling his phone, waiting for the woman he thought he owned. When he looked up and saw both of us walking toward him, color drained from his face. Lauren's breathing quickened beside me. A tremor ran through her arm. This was it. No running, no hiding, no more lies stitched together with corporate excuses. I pulled out the empty chair across from Frank and sat down. Lauren remained standing, frozen. Frank swallowed hard. Gerald, this isn't... Don't, I said. Please don't insult me by pretending you're confused. Lauren finally found her voice, thin, trembling. Gerald, I can explain. You will, I said. I leaned forward, clasped my hands, and looked at the man who had been living a second life with my wife. So, I said quietly, which one of you wants to tell me how long it's been? Neither spoke. Of course they didn't. Liars can lie for months, even years, but when the truth is dragged into the light, it blinds them. I let the silence choke them before breaking it again. 6 weeks ago, you had dinner here. Together. Right there. Same table. Lauren told me she was meeting a client. Frank told William, the security guard, he was her husband. Lauren closed her eyes. Frank closed his hands into fists. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't shaking. I was calm. Painfully, terrifyingly calm. I didn't just cheat. You built a life, a routine, a marriage within a marriage. Lauren whispered, Gerald, please. No, I said. Not today. Today you don't talk. Today you listen. I stood. I'm not here for an apology or an explanation. I already know everything. I placed my phone on the table, the screen lit with photos, receipts, schedules, and recordings. Lauren's face went hollow. Frank's lips parted. You recorded? I collected the truth, since the two of you preferred fiction. I slid the phone back into my pocket and straightened my coat. This dinner, I said softly, this confrontation, it's not revenge. I took one step back from the table. It's the warning. Then I turned and walked out of the restaurant, leaving Lauren standing in silence and Frank motionless in his seat. Behind me, I heard Lauren call my name, but it didn't matter anymore. She had crossed lines that could never be uncrossed, and I had already begun the next step.
The night after Bellacourt was quieter than any night in our home. Lauren slept on the far edge of the bed, her breathing shallow, her body stiff as a board. She didn't reach for me. She didn't speak. She didn't even cry. Guilt doesn't always look like tears. Sometimes it looks like silence. But I didn't lie awake out of sadness. I lay awake planning. By morning, the shock had burned away. Only clarity remained. Sharp, cold, precise. I had spent my life being gentle, understanding, patient. Not anymore. Lauren thought the confrontation was the end. She had no idea it was only the beginning. Infidelity isn't emotional at its core. It's financial. Every betrayal leaves a paper trail. While Lauren showered, I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and accessed every joint account, every credit card, every shared financial statement. And there it was. Pattern, routine, predictability. Dinner dates, hotel reservations, car rentals, rideshare receipts at odd hours, gift purchases, designer items she told me were discounted. Every month, a few $100s would disappear under vague categories like business expense, client meeting, team dinner, conference materials, except the dates matched her nights out with Frank. This wasn't a fling. This was an investment. and I documented everything. Screenshots, PDFs, printed copies, backup drives. If they thought they were playing a game, they were about to realize I was playing for keeps. Suspicion sharpens perception. I started noticing things I had ignored before. The way she always took her phone with her, even to the bathroom. The new passwords she never shared. The sudden gym memberships despite never working out. The late-night phone calls that she claimed were Asia-based clients. I didn't confront her. Not yet. A man seeking revenge never interrupts his enemy while they're destroying themselves. Every company has one person who knows everything. At Meridian Technologies, that person was Evelyn Carter, the executive assistant, sharp, observant, and loyal to no one but her paycheck. I met her outside the building the next morning, holding 2 coffees. "Good morning, Evelyn." She blinked in surprise. "Mr. Warren, is everything okay?" "I think my wife is having an affair," I said softly. She inhaled sharply, not out of shock, but recognition. She knew something. They always do. I handed her the second coffee. She accepted it without hesitation. A quiet bribe. A harmless transaction. But her eyes changed. Walls lowering, interest peaked. "I'm not asking you to betray anyone," I said softly. "Just tell me what's already obvious." She hesitated, then whispered, "You didn't hear this from me, but Lauren and Frank, everyone here has assumed something is going on between them for months. They act married." Married. That word again, haunting me. "How long?" I asked. "Over a year. Not 6 weeks. Not a few months. A full year. 12 months of lies. 12 months of betrayal. 12 months of being made into a fool." I thanked Evelyn, handed her my card, and told her if anything happens, anything at all, you call me. And I promised her this conversation never happened. She nodded. In New York, secrets are currency. I bought a small legal device, the kind used by cybersecurity auditors, that detects when someone logs into a shared network. Lauren worked late almost every night. But her laptop, her phone, her work tablet, all synced to our home network whenever she returned. But suddenly, patterns didn't match. Her calendar showed board meeting 9 p.m. Her laptop showed she wasn't at the office. Her phone location, public safety app we both installed years ago, placed her in midtown hotels, Upper East Side apartments, even in Queens once, while she told me she was reviewing yearly projections. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was collecting ammunition. There are things Google can't do, so I hired a private investigator. Marcus Doyle, former NYPD, mid-50s, trench coat, sharp eyes, the whole detective cliché. He looked at me and said, "You want photos or just the facts?" "I want both, and I want them clean." He smirked. "Then you'll get more than the truth. You'll get proof." And I did. Within days. Photos, videos, hand-holding, intimate hotel entrances, car rides, weekend conferences that were actually trips with Frank. Lauren wasn't careless. She was confident. Confident I would never notice. Confident I would never question. Confident she could live 2 lives and I would quietly accept the smallest scraps of the first one. Confidence is a fragile thing. Marcus delivered a sealed envelope. Inside were dozens of photos, but one froze my breath. Lauren and Frank touring an apartment together. A luxury high-rise in Soho, a place big enough for 2. They weren't just cheating. They were planning a future, while I was financing our present. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't race. I felt nothing except certainty. This wasn't a marriage anymore. This was a performance. And the audience, me, had just stopped clapping. That night, I sat alone in the dark living room. Lauren came home late again. Another lie ready on her tongue. I didn't even look at her, because I wasn't her husband now. I was her reckoning.
Revenge isn't anger. It's architecture. It must be drafted, measured, reinforced, and executed without emotion. Lauren and Frank had spent a year building a parallel marriage. Now it was my turn to quietly take everything they thought they controlled, their comfort, their careers, their future, and crush it with precision. Not loudly, not violently, but perfectly. Lauren always believed I was too trusting to notice details. She was wrong. I started by visiting our family attorney, Clara Nguyen, sharp, discreet, experienced in high-profile New York divorces. I didn't file immediately. Filing too early makes the cheaters unite. No, first I gave Clara everything. The photos, the receipts, the hotel records, her calendar entries, Marcus's surveillance file, her emails and work schedules, the real estate tour documents. Clara's eyes widened as she flipped through the stack. This is devastating, she whispered. For her, I said. New York is an equitable distribution state, but adultery still matters, especially with proof. Clara nodded. If you want to minimize what she gets, this is enough. I did more than want it. I required it. So we moved all shared assets into protected categories that Lauren could not touch without my consent. Savings transferred into an individual trust. Investments frozen temporarily. Joint credit cards closed. My income accounts, new routing numbers. Property tax records updated. All legal, all clean, all impossible for her to undo. Without me, her financial world began to collapse silently, and she didn't even know it yet. Lauren was CEO. Frank was her VP. An affair between them wasn't just unethical. It was corporate suicide. For them, not for me. I drafted an anonymous package. Inside, photos of their hotel visits, screenshots of their dinner reservations, dates and times matching company travel expenses, video stills from Marcus's surveillance, receipts showing misappropriation of corporate funds. Then I included a single message. Meridian Technologies should not be bankrolling the CEO's romantic vacations. Check the accounting. Recipient: the board of directors, full committee. Private delivery. But timing is everything. So I waited. Lauren and Frank always met on Thursdays. Same hotel, same time. So on the next Thursday, I made sure their little routine went exactly as usual. Dinner, hotel, predictable betrayal. Except this time, Marcus was there earlier, with a telephoto lens, with video, with timestamps, with clarity. He captured them, holding hands in the hotel lobby, checking in using fake names, kissing in the hallway, entering the room together. Not pornography, not invasion, just undeniable corporate misconduct, the kind that destroys careers, the kind that a board cannot ignore. Lauren had always assumed that as CEO, she was untouchable, but CEOs answer to boards, and boards answer to shareholders. Clara helped me draft a legal notice of intent to file a misconduct complaint regarding Lauren Warren and Frank Sterling. This document wasn't filed yet. It was simply prepared, a sword hanging above their heads. Cheaters fear one thing more than consequences: embarrassment. Lauren especially. So I planned the exact moment when her false image would shatter publicly. At the company's annual fall gala, a glittering event filled with investors, partners, and board members, Lauren was scheduled to give the keynote speech. The perfect stage. I arranged a quiet table at the back of the ballroom. I wasn't attending publicly. No scenes, no shouting.
That's low-class revenge. Mine would be elegant. At exactly the moment she would step onto the stage, the board members would be receiving the investigative packet, the hotel footage, the financial misconduct documents, Marcus's report, the whistleblower complaint, and a final note. If Meridian ignores this, I won't, and neither will the press. A concerned shareholder. Not Gerald, not the betrayed husband, just a shareholder. Professional, clean, deadly. The next evening, Lauren arrived home early, nervous, pacing, constantly checking her phone. She sensed something. Cheaters feel storms before they hit. "Is everything okay?" she asked carefully. I smiled, a calm, quiet, controlled smile. "Everything's perfect." She exhaled in relief, but she had no idea. Her perfect world was already collapsing behind her, financially, professionally, socially, and the final blow was still to come. The revenge plan was no longer a plan. It was in motion. Silent, precise, unstoppable. Lauren had spent a year living 2 lives. Now, she was about to lose both.
The unraveling didn't happen slowly. It happened like a controlled demolition. Every pillar of her double life struck at the exact moment Alex intended. For 14 years, Emma had gotten used to Alex's reliability, his predictable affection, his stable presence, his quiet routines. But now, he didn't argue, he didn't shout, he didn't ask questions. He simply withdrew. Emma walked around the apartment as if she were living with a ghost. Alex responded to her existence with the same attention he would give a passing stranger. Cold, calculated, empty. And that terrified her more than any confrontation could. The next hit landed where she least expected it. Her career. It started with whispers. HR called her in for a discussion. Her manager's tone was strained. Her coworkers stared a beat too long. Someone, she didn't know who, had forwarded screenshots of private messages she once sent to Ryan. Flirty, explicit, unprofessional. All from her company laptop. Alex didn't have to say anything. He just let the evidence fall where it needed to. Her reputation, the polished, respected golden employee, fractured instantly. As pressure built around her, Ryan grew colder. He stopped messaging, stopped calling, stopped responding altogether. Emma panicked and went to his apartment, only to discover he had moved out 2 weeks early. No forwarding address, no explanation. Gone. Her affair partner, who once had promised, "I'll protect you," vanished when things got dark. That's when she realized she wasn't losing just her marriage. She was losing her backup plan too. At home, Alex was calm. Too calm. When she tried to talk to him, he picked up his phone. When she reached for him, he stepped away. When she cried, he looked at her as if she were a stranger. He didn't scream. He didn't accuse. He simply let her drown in her own guilt. He was past anger. He was past hurt. He had moved into the cold territory of strategy, and she felt it. Emma noticed the shift first at their usual Sunday gathering with friends. People were distant. One of her closest friends leaned in and whispered, "You should get ahead of whatever's being said." That's when Emma understood Alex's true brilliance. He never tried to destroy her socially. He simply told the truth, calmly, privately, without embellishment. And people believed him because he had never lied in his life. Her parents called, not to support her, not to comfort her, but to ask why Alex sounded heartbroken on the phone. Her mother's voice cracked. "Emma, how could you betray someone who loved you like that?" And just like that, the last place she expected to lose stability, her own bloodline, slipped away beneath her feet. It was a Tuesday night when Emma walked into the living room and saw Alex packing a suitcase. Not frantically, not angrily, just methodically. Fold, zip, close. She froze. "Where are you going?" she whispered. Alex looked up with a kind of exhaustion she had never witnessed before. He said, "Somewhere quiet," he said calmly. "Somewhere you're not." And that line, soft, emotionless, hit harder than any shouted insult ever could. She dropped to her knees. "Alex, please, I'm sorry. I'll fix this. I'll do anything." He walked past her without touching her, without even looking down. Emma had spent years believing she could juggle one life with Alex and another in the shadows. But now, her affair partner had disappeared, her job was in jeopardy, her friends knew, her family judged her, her husband was leaving. She had tried to live two lives, and Alex simply forced her to face both at once, and both collapsed.